Hey everybody, Mark Agnesi here for Gibson TV. I am so very excited to be joined today by the legend, Gene Simmons. What's happening, man?
Very fortunate to have come back to America, and there seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel. And boy, New Year's Eve was just off the charts.
It was pretty spectacular. Can I ask you a question, if you don't mind disclosing? What was your budget for pyro on the New Year's Eve show?
$1 million.
It was $1 million. It looked like $1 million worth of pyro.
And we spent $750,000 just on the doctors and the nurses and spraying everything down and all that. Yeah, just to make sure everybody's safe. Yeah, we did all that.
Well, it was a pretty spectacular show. One cool thing about the show, you were playing this really, really good looking Gibson Thunderbird bass. What can you tell me about that?
Well, you know, you live and die by the instrument in your hand. You can stick your tongue out only so many times, but you got to deliver the goods.
Let me be the first to publicly welcome you to the Gibson family of brands, man. It's been a long time coming. We're so stoked. What do you hope the fans get out of this collection of basses? Because this isn't one bass. This is a whole collection of basses across all.
It's also going to be guitars.
And guitars.
Yes, I play guitars as well. So we have the Flying V version of the bass. There's also going to be a Flying V guitar. I want and desperately hope for trust. You trust the Gibson name. You know, I've been around a long time. And what I want you to get out of this is pride. When you see that Gibson logo, and hopefully with me involved as well, and you plug in that first time and you're taken aback by how good it sounds, and people come up and say, man, you're cool. And however they figure out all the work that you put into getting your sound, pride should come out of that. That's what I hope. That's what I hope the fans get out of this. And let's call it for what it is. The basses are so beautiful that they gave their only begotten child. Oh, sorry, that's another story. The basses are so beautiful. The bodies are so classic that there are going to be lots of folks out there who are going to want to buy them and put them on their wall as a piece of art.
The design aesthetics that you have are very, very cool. Some of the binding options and colors, we're very excited.
Yeah. And we're going to pay attention to those details so that as you get close to it, you're going to get something special, like what's behind you on the wall, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Except I think what they're going to be doing is doing the body sideways.
But this is an entire collection, and it's across brands. And one of our brands is another brand that you did a lot of work with back in the day, which is Kramer. I just remember Unplugged, and you had the Kramer Farrington acoustic bass. I mean, at that time, Kramer was a big brand back in the mid 80s. When did you start doing things with the Kramer brand?
We were recording in the early days, and a guy walked in, and I said, who are you? What are you doing here? Oh, my name is Stu. Hi, Stu. What are you doing? We're recording. He goes, well, I got a bass for you. I made it. Okay. What? He says, it's called a Spectre. His name was Stu Spectre. And he gave me the very first one, which I played until it broke into pieces. So it just shows you that you could sit back and play regular basses, but Kiss had to have a niche. The way the guitars worked there, it wasn't enough. The guitars were turned up, obviously, so you had to have a bass that found the right sonics to be able to pierce through. So if you played too low end, you had Ace playing a Les Paul, and that had the, the kind of that low end, the humbucker. So that took up a lot of space. So if you used a regular bass, some of the bass frequencies would be eaten up. So I was always turning the Marshall 200s or the Ampeg 360s, 360 watts RMS, to that spot where it was, some people call it fart, but in other words, distortion. So you could hear the notes instead of that kind of woofy low end. Because live, especially when you're playing in a large arena with big high ceilings, you're not going to hear that low end. You need to have an attack of some kind. And unfortunately, people think of attack as just turning up the high end. I didn't want that.
No.
Somehow from the middle down to the bottom, it should be thick and be able to be defined and still kick you in the chest.
Yeah. Now, you were talking about guitar earlier. A lot of people don't know that you are a guitar player. Now, when you write songs, do you write with bass? Do you write with guitar? Do songs come however they come?
No rules. I wrote, for those people that know what deuce is, I wrote that on bass. And an FYI, it was based on the flat third. Musicians will know what I mean. You have the 1, then the 3, then the 4, and the 5. If you flat the 3, the relationship would be the A and a C instead of A to D flat. The rest of you are saying, what is he talking about? Like
it's a guitar channel. People will get it.
So here's what I mean. Oh, when the saints, that's 1, 3, 4, 5. The 3, 1, 3, oh, when, ba-da, those two together are harmonies to each other. Ba-da, so that third is what pop is based on. Blues is ba ba ba, spoonful, spoonful, spoonful. It's that C rubbing against the A. So when I first heard Keith Richards' riff in a song called "Bitch," ba da 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 ba ba, that C against the A, da da ba da da. It's where I got the idea for da 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 ba da da ba da. There are those sonics that I got. So clearly, Deuce was inspired by "Bitch" by the Stones. I have a lot of, but that was written on bass. Watching You, bow, better let it down, better down, bow, to let it down, better, which sounds like horn parts. I got the idea for that from Born Under a Bad Sign by Albert King, which goes ba dum ba dum dum ba dum ba dum ba bow bow. So I like the way the melody works. So I went ba ba da 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 ba da 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 ba da 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 da. It's all based on, you can take something you've heard and just switch it. So basses and guitars, and sometimes I write on keyboards. Christine 16.
Yeah. Written on keys.
Sorry?
Written on keys. You do it all.
Just that da 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 da. That's sus4, and then I switched to guitars to kind of map out what it was all about. But I stole the title from Paul Stanley, who kept making fun of the songs I write. You only write monster songs like God of Thunder. I'm going, hey, that's a good idea. I'm going to write that song. He goes, so he quickly went home and wrote that. And I said the same thing to him. I said, you all write those girly songs like Christine 16. He goes, oh, that's a good idea. So I quickly ran home and wrote that before he got a chance to. But the thing we all share is this love of what Les Paul really started. This idea of multi-tracking, of course, he and Mary Ford. Yeah. That history can never be, you can't avoid that. And so he rightfully stays right up there above, heads, hands, and feet above all the rest in the early days. Most people don't know that Les Paul and Mary Ford traveled around the country and took their multi-tracks with them, and they'd record in hotel rooms and all that stuff. And Les Paul was involved in a car accident, and the doctor said, your right hand is never going to be able to be used again, but we can set it in a way. Would you like it on the side? Would you like it over your head? He said, set my arm so that it'll always be able to play guitar, which is an astonishingly romantic idea, so iconic. So Les Paul, sadly, went to his grave with his guitar hand, the strumming hand, able to play lead guitar. So even though his right arm was no longer usable for anything else, he could still play guitar. Come on. It doesn't get cooler than that.
Pretty cool.
So what this Gibson relationship means to me is another one of my American dreams come true. There's the American dream. I got dreams, got a big appetite. And as Robert Frost once said, and miles to go before I sleep. There's lots more cool stuff to do before the end of the book, and I intend to do them, but only cool stuff. And Gibson, you can't get cooler than Gibson.
Well, dude, we're so incredibly honored and excited to have you. I've got some ideas for some cool stuff that we can do together here moving forward here in the digital realm.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to be shy to ask you to join me on some things here. But Gene Simmons, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for coming by today. You guys be looking for the G² basses and guitars coming soon here.
all the accoutrement too. We intend on doing
candy, goodies. We got all sorts of fun ideas.
Straps.
Anything that you could possibly imagine that would be in a Gene Simmons signature bass case, we will make sure ships from the factory. Gene, thank you for taking time out of your day. Great catching up with you, man. Looking forward to the future with Gene and Gibson.
Stay safe out there, everybody.
You too, buddy.